Every Jew living in America has a story to tell, a story of how their parents, their grandparents, or perhaps their great-grandparents came to this country, looking for opportunity, fleeing hardship. The reasons may vary, but for three families who arrived in Greensboro, the reason was clear.
I was a structural engineer with a 17 years experience.
I went to work to Moscow after I graduated Applied Mathematics, Azerbaijan State University, and started working in Krylov Center, which is equivalent of NASA.
I worked in a very big company, but I have to leave my job when we applied first time.
I was a scientist, and my life really depended on whether I can stay in Moscow or go to Leningrad, St. Petersburg now, or some other big city.
When we were children, we probably didn't even understand that life was much different than anywhere else. But when we were growing up, and especially high school, and then going to college, that's when you start understanding that life definitely is different for us than for others.
I was in the fifth or sixth grade, I don't remember. Her name was Zara Nemirovskaya. And it was very sad season ago. She was my very close friend. And school reaction from children was very interesting. Some of them were like, because everybody who wanted to leave the country were marked as a traitor of the country. How you could leave the best country in the world to go to live some kind of Israel. And one boy said to me, go away to Israel. And I was so mad at him. And the funny thing, most of our teachers in the school were Jewish. And our classroom teacher invited my dad to speak in front of the class about Persian Jews in Azerbaijan. And he told them that the first encounters of Persian Jews in Azerbaijan went to 3,000 years ago. And we as much native as anybody else in this country.
When I was 17, I graduated from high school and I went to Moscow University, and I changed the culture. It's a very different culture from Baku to Moscow. And then I saw what was anti-Semitism.
Потому что я хотел поступить на физико-математический факультет университета, но для евреев это было практически невозможно, поэтому я поступил в политехнический институт. Ну, другое дело, может быть, я и не жалею. И познакомился с дочкой моих друзей, моих родителей. Она была в 9 классе, совсем.
We were really in a bad shape every time my management in the company I've been working for, they always kind of, talking kind of not really pleasant stuff to me.
Being Jewish impacted me in a very different way, I think, from my parents, in that I was not, there was no official discrimination by the state, because really there wasn't much of a state to begin with. But it was very deeply ingrained. The anti-Semitism was very much a cultural part of culture in that part of the world.
We came here in 1990, but we left the country in 89 when Gorbachev was in power.
There was a big excitement when authorities let us go.
Jews were basically a bargaining chip. We let so many Jews go, we give us something, so that's why it took us 10 years.
It was after Chernobyl, and we used to live 70 miles from Chernobyl. So we definitely looked for ways to get out from there and to immigrate to the United States. I attended this crowd of people who actually stayed day and night near the American Embassy at Tchaikovsky Street in Moscow, and started asking what is it about, what we need. So they gave me this booklet, and we filled it out, despite the fact that it said that if you don't have any relatives in the United States, don't fill those forms. Since that time, a lot of things changed. Soviet Union didn't exist anymore, and we started our business. Well, everything worked okay, and I was abroad in my business trip, and my wife told me, you know what I found in our mailbox? Completely wet package from American Embassy, and they requested interview with us.
It was absolutely impossible to take family from the military conflict zone, and there was a military conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And when there is a conflict, people don't ask you who you are, they just shoot, and it was very, very bad. In September 18th, 1989, I gave my applications for the whole family.
September 15th. I
15th?
even remember that.
Okay, September 15th.
15 somehow in the family.
Yes. So, that's how the first family came. Myself with my daughter, my sister Ina, and my parents.
When we went to the airport to see them flying off
To Moscow.
to Moscow, and my mother stayed at home with Sayad, and Sayad's father and I, we went to the airport, and when they left, and in our country you are allowed to come close to the airdrome, actually the place where the
could
plane
see the
will
plane.
take off.
To
You
the
can
gate.
come, yeah, here you stay inside the building, but you can stay there in the field, almost in the field. And when they went up the stairs, it was surreal. It was like part of me was there, but the other part, I knew I'm here. Here's my husband, there's my son. I was so attached to their father, it was like my father. Because I lost mine when I was 4 years old, and it seemed to me like my life is breaking. Something is really breaking. How am I going to live?
I would say that having a child was the most important motivation for me to leave the country.
Yes,
Because
no doubt.
when everything started falling, we didn't have a great life, but when everything started falling apart, it was clear that there is no future for our children there.
Very excited day because after 10 years of being sitting on our suitcases, we haven't had a chance to apply to anywhere because we were like foreigners in our own country.
We flew to JFK, and after we boarded the plane, I think it was to Charlotte, and from Charlotte we came to Greensboro.
Sayad was sick all the flights with motion sickness. I only could change clothes on the way we were coming here and on every stop.
I think the trip was pretty easy if not Pepsi, of course, because Pepsi was the main part of our problems. She was very nervous and she didn't sleep, not a minute. For me it was very hard to keep her, on my lap all the time.
For us, we were trained in Soviet system of transportation. We expected even worse. So.
И прилетели мы в Гринсборо в ночь с пятницы на субботу.
So they arrived late
2
at
часа
night,
ночи.
at 2 in the morning.
И мы считали, что суббота вообще
They were
еврейские
terrified.
не работают. И мы просто
Because they
были
knew it was
растеряны.
Sabbath.
Да, и когда мы сошли с самолета, у нас такие глаза были, потому что нас встречали несколько человек, говорящих по-русски, и в том числе представители ХИАСа, представители Jewish Federation. И сразу...
They brought us to our house where my host families were there already. It was Wendy and David Massey and Ruth and Max Sperling. And at that time, when we walked into that townhouse, 2 stories townhouse, fully furnished, beautiful, even with the flowers, with baskets of flowers, I stood like this. I looked at them and said, "What is that?" I said, "It's all yours. It's all yours." I said, "Oh, so we don't need to go and look for anything. We can sit and use and leave." And I said, "It's not even all. Go upstairs." We went upstairs, and Wendy was there waiting for us with the little boy who is now at college, and the cute Daniel was just kind of greeting us too with the big smile. And I saw all these bedrooms so beautifully decorated with the matching comforters and the bed skirts in one room, all white furniture, and for my mother totally different, and it was amazing. And later I knew that Elaine Abrams and Ross Weintraub, they were doing something, and later I knew these people, and I even worked with the husband. So it's just interesting how life was refrigerator full. Do you believe that we still have towels that were given to us? We still have, and I'm not going to separate from. It's like a, how to say? It's memorabilia. It's a very sentimental thing. Yes. And the Jewish Federation was giving us $18 that Friday.
Right. Yeah.
Like I still packed mine in an envelope. I still have it, and I said, "I'm not going to open it." I just wrote on it what it is, and I said, "We lost everything back there, all our heirlooms, everything, nothing. We couldn't bring anything with us." And I said, "This is something that I will give Sayat, and Sayat will give to his family, luck. Just to keep life in the family."
First time a little difficult. I have not English language. After это, потом некоторое время пошел на работу я. Я чувствую кожей, что говорят и делал.
To me, the biggest difference was that I wasn't in the city anymore. I mean, the amount of wealth here was staggering, but also having lived and grown up in a big city, the first thing, honestly, and this may not, it's strange, but the first thing that I noticed about Greensboro was that there were no sidewalks. Everybody drove everywhere, and that for me was just such a shock.
Ну, поразило, во-первых, меня масштабы магазины и очень много разного товара. Это, но grocery store, это продукты, конечно. Отношения люди, как встречали люди, очень доброжелательно, хорошие родственные такие отношения. Вот это все передай, пожалуйста.
It was too hot, when I came. We were kind of winter clothes, wearing all the winter clothes. When we came off this plane, and the whole crowd, was kind of waiting for us, in the shorts, t-shirts, and we were prepared for the North Carolina, not in the South Carolina.
In the morning, Proctons took us somewhere, I don't remember where, and we went on Market Street, and my impression was a city has banks and churches. If you ever drive on West Market, this only you see.
We were sure that it's after green, because of green. Greensboro is just green city. We didn't know about this general.
It was very surreal. And then we had some things to eat in the refrigerator, and we ate to breakfast, and then other Russian families who were here before, they started coming to us and saying hello and asking us if we need something, or telling us a little bit about life here and what we have to expect. And
I had a feeling that I'm on vacation. Yeah, everything was, because it was Hamptons, and Hamptons apartments, and everything looked, and we went for a walk to the country park, and it was amazing. The smell and everything around, the nature, we liked it.
Countless mornings when I was 3-4 years old, I would wake up and dread going to school because I didn't speak a lick of English. I knew nothing. I'd get really frustrated when kids tried to ask me to pass them, the action figure, and in one ear or the other, I had no idea what they were saying. And Ellen Fisher, I don't know to this day how she taught someone who spoke no English, only Russian, to speak English. But all of the coaching that I had from her and all of the patience that she devoted to me as a kid in preschool definitely did not go unnoticed. I'd say that Rabbi Eli Chavivi was probably the forerunner in making sure that I got to where I am today. He really looked out for me and what was in my better interest, and he was the first one that got my mom interested in Ramah, pitched the idea to her, who in turn pitched the idea to me, and just helping to figure out logistically and how all my trips to Israel were going to work out and fit into my scheme of summers at camp and school and all these things. He was always there, ready to give advice and help out.
It was very painful to forget who you were there and come here and start from the very bottom. I'm eternally thankful to David Massey, who was at that time not only my host family, but who was the first one who brought me to Moses Cone Hospital and who literally sat at the phlebotomy lab, and he told them, "You can trust her like you trust me."
Through the Jewish community, I met several doctors, and one of them, James Edelman, neurologist. He kind of, I asked him, what can I do? And he said, can you do anything with your hands? I said, I never tried, but I try now. And he introduced me to one of his associates, and they both kind of built up a plan, how for me to become a massage therapist.
I was very nervous about the first meeting because I heard a lot about Kelly before I met her. I've been told about her that she's a very tough lady. When I meet her, she even didn't ask me a lot of questions, she just looked at me, and she was so easy to talk to. So she hired me, and I worked with her at her very house for a few months, and we established a very good relation. A relation that was not even like employee and employer relation, and I think that we become friends. And it didn't take long, it was like a few months, and after that she didn't need me anymore, and she didn't feel comfortable telling me that she didn't need me anymore. And she told me one day that she's going to do everything to help me to get the job that I really want to do, the job that I did before being in Ukraine, the accounting that I used to do. And she really did it. So she found for me the right place, the Mastech that I was working for 4 years. And I really miss her. When I found out that she got sick, I seen her several times, and I would remember her for the rest of my life.
I took center because I knew the programming language, and they needed PL1 programmer. I went there. I started as a programmer, and was so funny. The guys were just at my work, just crazy about. They were pulling my legs, telling that spam is highly expensive delicacy that only very rich can afford, and it produced from some kind of fish from the North Lake. My at that point I was dating my husband. I was said, Matt, what is spam? They said it's such a delicacy, roll on the floor laughing.
When Ina came here in June, one of her host families, the Combs, were friends with Dr. Grandin, who was the director of MIS at UNCG. And they brought her to speak with him because her degree was an IT degree. They called it applied mathematics there, but in essence it's programming. So she went to see Dr. Grandin, and he suggested that she take a programming course in a programming language that was popular here in the U.S. at the time. Meanwhile, me being a full-time student at UNCG, a friend of mine tells me, oh, this is the best IT class, you got to come and take this C class with Dr. Brown. And so I ended up in the class as well, and Dr. Brown, our professor, was a terrific professor. He was from Texas, and he talked just like this. And I knew from the first minute that Ina would not understand a thing that he was saying.
And I definitely think as far as an affirmation of faith goes, our B'nai Mitzvahs were definitely successful. I think we each really took our Judaism to heart, and the liberal sense of which we could practice in contrast with the Soviet Union. I definitely think that it stimulated us to be more active Jewishly and be more proactive about our Jewish identities and constructing who we are as Jews. I think as far as the impact on our family goes, I think it was very, very strong because with the anti-Semitic persecution happening in the Soviet Union and the entire atheism and anti-religion that the Soviet Union was infamous for, our bar and bat mitzvahs respectively were the first in, I guess, 100 years or so. And I think that our family was very proud to see that come full circle.
For my mom, it's pretty important because I'm her only son, and it's the bar mitzvah is the big thing. It only happens once in your life. I mean, it's important to keep the tradition, the Jewish tradition, going around. And I just like it because I feel, close to God.
I don't consider myself a religious person, but I have developed a sense of sort of affinity and a sense of connection with the Jewish people that I haven't had back in Ukraine. It is, you never thought of the Jews being sort of the part of the tribe, really, the way that American Jews think of themselves, I think. And so that is new. That is something, for me, being Jewish was always a liability when I grew up. And that certainly isn't the case now. It's something that I take pride in.
I'd say I'm everything. Culturally, I have a very strong sense of my Judaism. I'm very proud to be Jewish. I'm very proud of all the aspects of Jewish culture. I'm very, very strong advocate of spending time in Israel for emergent adults and for Jews, because I think there's a lot to be contributed to your Jewish identity. I experienced it personally. And as far as my Jewish religious identity goes, that's kind of in flux and morphing, evolving. I spent a lot of time in college spending time with religious Jews, talking to non-religious Jews, and just kind of trying to figure out where I fit in this whole grand scheme of Jewish observance. Ramah Rome, which has been a staple in my Jewish identity and my Jewish growth, has definitely helped solidify how I feel Jewishly, how I feel about my Judaism. Very positively, very strongly, very comfortably in sync, I would say, with it.
The bigger thing for me is to see how much they have changed since they came here. Because when they first came here, I think they had little idea of what it meant to live in a free country. I think that would living in a free country for them had a very different meaning at that time than it does now.
Their lives were fairly stable. There was turmoil, but at least they had careers. And to sacrifice all of that and take such a leap into the unknown, it really, truly does make me feel that they sacrificed so much for me, for my sake, in order for me and my cousins to have a better future.
I feel like I've pretty much lived up to what I think she imagined would be, the life of freedom of education and of speech and of religious freedom.
Hope to use that and really educate my kids about their background and how that sort of informs how they view themselves, since they will be sort of at this weird place where your family's been here for generations, my family's brand new, so we'll have to make peace with that and figure out who they are. it's been amazing. I really my life has really started in the U.S. as an adult, and it's just been an amazing journey that Robin and I have been on. It sounds corny, but that's the case, and I can't imagine it turning out any better.
From my perspective, it's my personal point of view. Most of other countries which we've seen, people think that government is from God. It's the only country which we actually live where government is, well, supposed to be for people, and I believe that government knows that they owe those people, and this is really worse respect. Well, so question of money, it's never enough, correct? But here you could respect yourself even if you are rich. I couldn't say so in former Soviet Union. It's not made, it's difficult, but kind of, you could make big money, but it's difficult to survive after that as a person or just physically. So we are glad that we're here.
I found not only a country that I like and I love. I brought my child to a better future, and I found my field that I love, and I absolutely live my dream.
It's only when you can compare, you can appreciate a life here. This is all what I can say. You have to live somewhere else before you come to this country to really appreciate it.
I'm happy, and I'm happy with my achievements. It makes me sometimes proud, especially compared to what my classmates are that left in Moscow.
The reason for my immigration was my son, and I was always saying that even if my immigration would not be successful for me, I still will consider it extremely successful if my son will achieve what he wants to achieve. He did. So, I'm happy.
Mom, I've said this to you in passing before, and I don't know if you ever really got it. When I say that I think you're the best parent in the world, I mean it with every fiber of my being. And the kind of life that you made sacrifices for in order for me to have, I will never ever be able to thank you enough, because all of the opportunities that I have here at Emory, that I have with my, Ramah, the Federation at home, the entire community, everyone that I know, would not have been possible if not for you, for your encouragement, for your positive perseverance through all of the adversity that came your way, and I can't thank you enough for all that you've given me.
I think the experience has definitely shaped me as a person. So, like I said, married, have a little baby, so life is good.
Like every other family in America lives, everywhere.
We're happy.
We're happy, yeah. It's like, I want to say thank you to everybody who ever helped to make this happen. Even people who we never met, but I know people donate money, people donate food, people donate furniture, people donate so many things. And I want to say thank you, because it would probably never happen. Only in America people so giving. So